All right, everyone. You may have heard of Rainn Wilson. Actually, he's an actor. He played Dwight Schrute on The Office. He beat up MSNBC. Haha, get it? Beat? Some of you will get the reference. I'm hoping that you're not a heathen that didn't like The Office. One of the best series, by the way. One of the best comedy series. Most of them, they begin deviating from actual slapstick comedy, and then they try to get more serious because the writers, they are like, "Oh, I don't want to do slapstick anymore." Dr. House was actually a victim of this. After the third season, it became a lot more serious. Scrubs. Goddamn, Scrubs was a fucking slapstick comedy and semi-musical at times. And then they decided to have the character arc sort of thing. The writers get bored. And it's like, can't we have a slapstick comedy that just stays a slapstick comedy? The Office is pretty much the closest that you get to that. Anyway, Dwight Schrute goes on this is funny. This is a funny video. He goes on MSNBC and they're talking about how Trump has caused, a dislike of the legacy media. He's caused distrust in the legacy media. And he's like, well, you've been doing this to yourself for years. What are you talking about? I knew I liked his character for a reason. He seems to be the sane one. And this is the truth. Let's get a little bit more serious for a moment. Yeah, I'm doing exactly what the writers of comedy specials tend to do. The legacy media is responsible for its own situation. When you lie to people repeatedly, and you're caught out in those lies. This is a social media thing. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump. Donald Trump will call you out. Perfectly fine. The people that follow Donald Trump already didn't trust you to begin with. When other people begin distrusting you, that's a little bit different. And that's because of the power of social media. This is, by the way, why they want to clamp down on it. That's why people get algorithmically demoted, like I am on YouTube and things like that. This is the reason for that, because they don't want the competition. They can't compete. Yeah, CNN is going to compete with a million kids with webcams. Yeah, and cell phones. That's not going to happen. You don't have the capability because those people are generally doing it for free or for very little pay because they have very little overhead. They don't need a multi-billion dollar budget. You're being absolutely goddamn destroyed. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, all of these networks and, magazines, nobody reads those anymore. Nobody gives a fuck about newspapers. Radio is basically the last man standing. Because, you're driving along and you have to, AM radio, especially in certain rural locations, is still doing okay. Other than that, though, there's not a whole lot. Even the missing link media, which is a term that I've used and has been adopted, by the way, like Vox and Salon and some of the Blaze, some of these other sites that started out digitally, even they're suffering. In fact, they're arguably suffering more, which is actually ironic when you think about it. Because they're a little bit better than like the CNNs and MSNBCs of the world and have less overhead. They keep having to downsize their offices. It's like that posh, 20-story building that they used to have. Well, now you're in a crack shack. Something like that. It's actually hilarious. I'm enjoying watching every moment of this, by the way. What's happened is that the legacy media spent years and years and years lying to everyone. Think about CNN with WikiLeaks, for example. There was that famous clip, and I can't remember which broadcaster it was because he's probably no longer there and totally irrelevant if he is. And he says, don't look at the WikiLeaks files, folks. We'll look at them for you, and we'll tell you because it's illegal for you to look at them. We'll look at them and tell you what you need to know. Well, this was a lie. It was clearly not true, and it was clearly stated for a political reason. This happens all the time. It happens on CNN. It happens on Fox. It happens on ABC. It happens on CBS. It happens on MSNBC. more often than any other network, by the way. They're the worst of all. They lie outright, unapologetically lying to the entire public. How is it Trump's fault, therefore, that people don't trust the goddamn legacy media? People trust, at this point, the average person in American society trusts YouTubers and TikTokers and Instagram influencers, a term that, by the way, I hate and I don't use for myself, not without good reason. I'm a content creator. I don't claim to be an influencer because that's cringe. At this point, those of us who are truly independent, I'm literally sitting here with a goddamn fucking webcam on my own fucking private computer with no overhead at all in a goddamn hotel room because stood up by the New Orleans legal system. I'm completely independent. I'm not reliant upon anyone else to script me. I'm not reliant upon anyone else to tell me what to say, and I never will be. I've been offered multi-million dollar deals before. I have turned them down for a reason. Because it's like, yeah, you give me a bunch of money, but at the same time, you know, I'm going to lose my independence. Long term, it sounds like a bad strategy to me. I'd rather just fucking sell books and stuff like that. Some people take the fall. You look at, for example, Harry Sisson and people like that. Dash Dabrowski, who has blocked me on Twitter, not without good reason. Um, Dwight Schrute is defending Donald Trump. I realize that's not his actual name. That's a persona on The Office. I just found it funny because, like, there are a handful of people that are in Hollyweird that, he's made quite a name for himself. I mean, he may not be like top A-list like a Tom Cruise or something like that, but he's a popular man. When he goes out in public, I'm sure that he has to sign quite a few autographs when he goes to the restaurant. I know I would like to have his autograph. Dwight Schrute is a great character, one of the greatest in all of sitcom history. Well, it's not really a sitcom, but you know what I mean. But it's funny, he has to defend Donald Trump, and this stupid moron from MSNBC is like, well, Donald Trump has destroyed trust in the media. No, he didn't. You did. You destroyed trust in the legacy media by lying to people repeatedly. Oh, imagine that. Imagine this. Let's say that we're friends, and everything that I tell you is always a lie. Everything that I tell you is bullshit. Eventually, you're not going to take me seriously anymore. You may tolerate me, we may still be even friends, but you're not going to take what I'm telling you seriously. It's as simple as that. That's exactly what's happened with the CNNs, MSNBCs, and Fox Newses of the world. Nobody takes them seriously if they've got any intelligence at all, because they know what they're seeing. There's a better than 50-50 chance it's complete bullshit. And even when it's not bullshit, and this is something that I must take umbrage with, even when their articles or their reporting is not outright bullshit. So there's a kernel of truth to it, at least. It's only a couple of kernels and they're withered, but, they're there. They omit facts. Or they'll have a news story and the truth that you should really be imbibing, like the actual substance of the story, is 5 paragraphs later. It's especially pernicious on digital media, actually. Much worse than on TV, ironically enough. That's the way the legacy media works. That's about all. Peace out.